Hi, I'm Jason Thomas, the bowling guy, for the United States Bowling Congress. One of the most anticipated days of the tournament bowling season each year is the revealing of the USBC Open Championships lane patterns. This year, the tournament will be contested in El Paso, Texas at the El Paso Convention Center with a brand new lane install with completely flat, completely new lanes. The only ingredient left to determine how those lanes will play is how the oil patterns themselves will be laid down.
Yeah, we go through a lot of steps. I mean, we review the past 15 years of Open Championships, the scoring pace, the different patterns that achieved them, what the installs were for each of those patterns. So we start with that and we start looking at some of the previous patterns and the success they had and where we want to be, for this particular year. And then the next big step is the installation. So the installation in El Paso is, one of the best I've ever seen. It ranks right up there with the Cashman Center in Las Vegas, and that was the best one that I think any of us had seen. Very flat topography, is very consistent across the house, less than 20,000 crowns and depressions everywhere. So it's one of the best installs I've ever seen. Some of the differences between last year's pattern and this year's patterns are the fact that we went with a constant mic stream, so there's no variable mic stream. It's really keeping it simple so that multiple centers across the country will have an easier job putting it out. Everybody can practice on it a little more easily. You don't have to have the latest, greatest, best lane machine, out there to do this. It's really about being able to put out this pattern and practice on it, bowl on it, and get ready.
When I first look at a graph, there's a few things that I look at each and every time. One's the distance, one's the overall volume, and then I want to see the shape of the pattern in general, the ratios, and maybe the conditioner itself. Now the biggest difference in the team event this year is that the distance has changed from 43 feet down to 38 feet. And the volume though has gone up, and it's actually gone from 24 mils up to 26.9. So we have more volume in a shorter range. There is more taper, but overall, as you look at this pattern, it's a little flatter right to left. Last year, where the players had probably as many as 4 boards at sometimes, I think this year is going to be much closer to 2. Now, anytime I'm starting on a pattern, I'm going to throw my earliest rolling ball from the furthest point right, which means outside of 5. Use USBC's rule of 31. I take that by about 3/4 on a 38-foot pattern. That leaves me with 7 by 3/4, so we're looking around 5 to 6 as your break point. I'm still going to throw one shot outside of that because regardless of what the rule is, if the gutter hooks, I have more entry angle, it's going to be easier to throw strikes. I think straighter players like a Pete Thomas from last year's Team Champions Artistic Impressions, whose rev rate is probably a little bit lower than even Walter Ray's, he's going to be playing somewhere around 5, 6, 7, pretty direct, laying it down on 5, and maybe even going a little bit right to left. There's going to be a little shape there. It's going to be much more about accuracy this year, and so players like that I think will have some success. As you move up in the rev rate range, and guys who have had some success like a Jeff Rickles, he's going to play in the 8, 9, 10 range, moving into the track, where guys that are higher rev rate, like the Anthony Lavery Spars, Ted Pritz off that same Artistic Impressions team, will probably want to start around the track area and then move left. At 38 feet, there's not going to be a lot of hold down lane though. I think the guys that start further left early are going to run into a little bit of trouble, but there again, I think you can play many angles on this pattern, and there will be, the champions are going to be the guys who can hit their target from the very beginning. Now when looking at the doubles and singles pattern, the one main difference is it's 1 foot longer than the team pattern, and it's 1 foot shorter than last year's doubles and singles. There is more shape in this pattern than in the team pattern, And so players will be able to play a little bit further right, and especially the more direct players are going to see a little more friction early and be able to move a little left quicker. Compared to last year's pattern though, the buff on the way back is shorter. There's not going to be as much hold, and I think scores will come down, although they will be higher than in the team event. Again, multiple angles. You'll be able to play probably more between 5 and 10 if you're a lower rev rate player. The tweeners will be moving into the track much sooner, and the higher rev rate players will feel the push to move in between third and fourth arrow from the very beginning, migrating even left of fourth arrow as it progresses. Lots of angles you can play on the doubles and singles pattern. Scores will be a little bit lower than last year's doubles and singles, but I think higher than this year's team event.
Those are the oil patterns for the 2015 United States Bowling Congress Open Championships. Competition will take place from March 7th through July 11th. We wish you the best of luck when you make your trip to El Paso, Texas for this year's tournament.